Hi, so I'm making this video. I can't take this seriously. I just thought of that one meme of James Charles going, hello.
And I got a frozen brown elephant, which is Coca-Cola. Hello.
Okay. Anyways, I'm making this video because I think there's a few books that I read this past year as a freshman in college that I think every incoming freshman should read. These are 3 books that just really helped me pick my major, figure out what I want to do, make sure I'm not just getting sucked into going into a field for like money or status or anything. Let me pull up my notes because I have quite a few. And every book I read, I always take notes in my notes app and I'll label the title with like an emoji that goes along with it. I realized when I read books, I tend to forget a lot of it right after. So I do this, that way I can always just go back in my notes app and have what I actually learned from it just like at hand. The first book I read, I still haven't finished it, but it's on my iPad. I'm going to finish it. It's called Indistractible. When you get to college, it's completely up to you to be on top of yourself for studying, for managing your own time. There's no mom or dad there yelling at you saying like, you need to do your homework now, you need to go work out, anything. So you just need to completely make sure you're balancing your time. Also not just getting distracted and going on your phone. One quote I really like from this book is, guard your time like you do your personal belongings. Your time is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than any belongings you have. So you shouldn't just give your energy and your time away to anything that is distracting you. Let me think of a better way to explain this. Hold on. Another thing you need to do is time boxing. I did this so much my freshman year and I still do this sometimes right now even though it's summer. So in Google Calendar, I'll literally block out time for studying, working out, practicing my violin, even when I don't have something scheduled. People tend to just put their class schedule, put when they have club meetings and stuff, but you need to also incorporate and block out time for studying, everything like that. I would also even incorporate time hanging out with my friends, that way I wouldn't forget to do that, because there was a point last year where I was just so busy I could barely keep track of anything, so this helped me a lot. Also, it shows you where your time's going, because if you see that you blocked out time for studying and instead you like take a nap or instead you just scroll on your phone, you just realize, like, it helps you realize more that you just wasted so much time versus what you actually set out to do. Going along with that, take time each week to note when you got off schedule and how you're going to fix next week's distractions. If you blocked out time for studying and instead you just scrolled on your phone the entire time, make sure next time you study you put your phone in your bag completely, or you put it in a different room, or maybe you change your study environment. You don't study in your dorm, you study with someone to hold you accountable. Another thing that's pretty healthy that they said in the book is you need to prioritize personal hygiene, obviously, and your physical and mental health. So block out time for even showering, for going to the gym, if you're religious, you're going to go to church or whatever. And then this is just a general saying that a lot of people say, but they also put in the book, focus on what you put in, not what you get out of it. The results will come if you are just like enjoying the journey versus constantly waiting to see some result or some reward, because then it's going to seem like torture and take a lot longer. Okay, the next book I read is called Springboard. It was actually written by a Wharton professor, so that was pretty cool. References about consulting and Wharton that I could kind of like relate to or like see in my everyday life. So this book is basically overall advice to have a satisfactory life. This is pretty generic, but it explained it really well. Increase your momentary happiness by paying attention to pleasantary aspects. And then I also described this in the reel I made earlier, but you need to pick a field where you specialize in everything. Like you have a unique combo of everything that someone else doesn't have. They give really good examples. For example, like, here's like an example I can make myself. Like, let's say you're really good at writing, cooking, creating content. Obviously, you're going to have some cooking blog. You're not just going to go straight into journalism or only into cooking. You want to combine all of your skills so you can be at the top of your field of whatever you choose. Another piece of advice I gave is people who set higher goals and fall short, even though they're dissatisfied, they often achieve way more than people who set like realistic goals. So when people say like, oh, you're being delusional, that goal is too far out of reach, think smaller, don't, because even if you don't reach that goal, you're still aiming higher, which means you'll fall way above what a typical realistic goal would look like. I thought this was a really interesting perspective, this next piece. They said career life is like a pie eating contest. The reward is more pie. So explaining this analogy, let's say you enter a pie eating contest and you win. They give you another pie as your prize for winning. So for example, they said in your career trajectory, when you get into a really good college, then you work super hard, and then you get into a super good grad school, you work super hard, then you get your dream job, you work super hard, and you're just climbing the corporate ladder. What it's saying is like the reward for working super hard is just more work. That's why this book really emphasizes that you want to pursue something you're genuinely passionate about, because if you're just pursuing something for the money, you're just going to get more and more of the same work and never being satisfied. I just want to preface again, all of the books I'm mentioning explain what I'm trying to say a lot better. And then also, do not be afraid to pursue something that you think is going to make no money. Obviously, be realistic with yourself, like your living standards, what kind of lifestyle you want. But it says that invisible cues and programming and culture have shaped your ideas of what success looks like. So what you think may be successful in society may not actually feel accomplished and successful to you. So just keep that in mind and always have a balance of what lifestyle and what kind of money you want to make, as well as what kind of experience you actually want to have. This kind of just reinforces what I said, but it says finding your real purpose that isn't from culture or family expectations or what you feel you should do will be a lot more fulfilling. Oh, I really like this quote. This is like also a refresher for me as I'm making this video. Happiness is measured not by the number of days you live, but rather by the number of days you remember. I feel like this is kind of funny about me, but since I'm going to such a competitive school, I feel like I'm actually quite the opposite. I don't want to have a super locked in life and career. I want to go into probably consulting or marketing, but still have a really good work-life balance. And if that means working for not as big of a consulting firm, like one of the top threes, and like working for a smaller one, I would happily take that. That's my own personal example and take on that. Another thing they describe is people that are considered a hungry ghost, and they say the definition of hungry ghost is someone that's just never feeling fulfilled. They just constantly chase money, fame, success, and it'll never be enough. For example, similar to the pie eating contest, you win that and then you just get another pie. It's like an endless cycle from there. It'll never be enough money, enough fame, success, so just keep going and going. Oh, I really like this Danish folk saying they said. It says, you must bake with the flour you have. So don't wait for something to be perfect. Don't wait for the perfect time. Just work with your resources and keep going, and then it'll flourish into what you actually want. For example, I've been procrastinating making this video because I'm like, I don't have like a complete perfect memory of all the books I read. I don't know if I should make this a YouTube short. And it's like, just make the content or just do what you want to do. Who cares if it's perfect as long as you're trying and getting it out there. Another thing it really stresses is having reward-based motivation and satisfaction at being good at what you're doing. And this is also similar to what they described as a free ride motivation. So it says it is easier to sustain motivation when your personality fits your activity. It gives you a motivational free ride. So this goes back to choosing a career that's a perfect balance of your lifestyle that you want, as well as what you're passionate and like doing. And then I actually remember the saying, and I still use this every day. So it says, competition is one of the strongest forms of motivation, but is even more useful when you compete with yourself. And then create a reward system. Everyone knows having friendly competition is really healthy, but even having that with yourself, like competing with yourself the day before, like, oh, I didn't get up and do my workout, well, I'm gonna do that today. I scrolled for like 7 hours, okay, well, now I'm gonna put my phone in a drawer and sit down and get what I actually need done. The thing it talks about is learning how to have intrinsic satisfaction, where hard work you're putting in is actually just satisfying and rewarding itself, because it says motivational energy is a fast burning power of rewards and isn't sustainable. The next book I'll be talking about is Tuesdays with Morrie. I already did a book review in a short form video of that, and I'll link that down below. But I just want to go over this one again because I thought it was so meaningful and it actually changed my perspective during freshman year. So one quote is, create your own culture, don't buy other people's culture because it won't make you feel as good about yourself. So basically stay authentic to yourself, make sure you're pursuing what you want to do. Similar to what Springboard said, don't base your standards of success on like society's standards or what other people are saying or your family or whatever. This one is really wholesome. It just says, focus on becoming fully human by loving everyone around you, doing something you care about, and being involved in stuff bigger than yourself. Wait a minute, this wasn't even planned for part of the video, but this completely links to another book I'm currently reading. Okay, so I'm reading, okay, wait, I'm just gonna not pronounce that because I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's a Japanese book talking about why Japanese people have the best longevity out of anyone. And one thing it says is people need like a purpose bigger than themselves to wake up every morning, and this is why when people retire, they become sluggish and their motivation to live drops off. So similar to Tuesdays with Morrie, it again talks about being involved in stuff bigger than yourself. This also links back to the first thing I said about not investing in other people's culture. It says, stop wasting time and sacrificing lunch hours and night hours invested in other people's drama, like celebrity gossip. Like when you're scrolling on TikTok and you're like, so-and-so broke up, or you're watching Love Island. No hate, I mean, I didn't watch Love Island, but stuff like that, it is such a time waster and has nothing to do with your life. You won't remember any of it in a year. There's also so many things of advice just throughout it, like get a pen pal and keep in touch with old friends. So for example, this past year I wanted to stay in touch with my hometown friends and do that besides just like texting or FaceTiming, because I feel like it's not as genuine. I started writing back and forth with I think like 4 of my friends. Super cute. Also, keeping the letters is so nice, and like also when you're older you're gonna have those, and it's just nice to have something you can actually hold and like keep versus just texting, and it feels like more connected and will help your friendships as well. Next quote is, once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. This is also similar to the quote that's like, you only die once but you live every day. So Morrie from the book is just saying make the most out of every single day because you live every day, pretty much only die once. There is so much more in that book and really good life lessons, but I'm gonna move on to the next one. Okay, well, I didn't realize that was all three of the books: Indistractible, Tuesdays with Morrie, and Springboard. Out of all three, I would say the most valuable for freshmen to read right now is Springboard, because it kind of encapsulates what Tuesdays with Morrie is saying, as well as Indistractible, because Indistractible is mainly just like advice on locking in, and then Tuesdays with Morrie is more overall advice for living a fulfilling life. So Springboard kind of merges those two, and it's talking about creating satisfying work. Overall though, I think reading all three is such a good setup for freshman year. This is just at Penn, I think, but you decide your major your sophomore year, so this is the perfect time freshman year to figure out what you want to do if you actually like your major. For example, it made me completely rethink when I read all three of these books. I wanted to do computer science. I was having a really tough time in those classes. I was thinking, oh, should I just like push through, just keep going, like this is what I set out to do. I was like, it's not too late to change, it's only my first year at college, then that leads into career, so might as well change now. And even if you're like in your third year, if you're like a junior in college and you're like, oh, I chose the wrong major or whatever, you still can do a completely different career, not just apply those skills and degree to whatever you want to do. That is pretty generic or like general to say. Maybe not right to completely generalize that, but in most cases, yes. I guess just to wrap up the video, I'm going to talk about current reads I'm doing. So I've started reading more nonfiction. I was reading Pride and Prejudice earlier this summer, but now I'm reading Creativity Incorporated, Overcoming the Unseen Forces That Stand in the Way of True Inspiration by Ed Catmull, and this is nonfiction about managing and how teams work together. Oh, and why we're often blind to what is blocking our own success. I have a lot of notes on that. I can make a video of that after. I honestly need to get more on my reading grind because I've been slacking. I've only read like 2 books this summer. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the books. I'll list them down below as well, and my current reads. Bye!